All right, welcome everybody to the Electric Toasters and the Speakeasy meeting. Thank you for being here. It's going to be an awesome, awesome night. And as always, we have a thought-provoking theme for this week. Lloyd, you always come up with the most thought-provoking things, and sometimes controversial too. Maybe not as controversial as it would have been to pick the topic of the fly on Pence's head, but nonetheless, I'm sure we'll have a great conversation with table topics. And since Kathleen is not here, oh, how could I forget you, Rob? Over to Rob for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Madam.
I won't sing God Save the Queen.
Okay. Thank you, Madam President. If all of you will please mute yourselves and please listen to my voice and focus on my screen and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Back to you, Madam President.
Thank you so much, Master Sergeant at Arms. And I will pass it to Vicky, who is going to be, oh no, Kathleen, there she is. Oh, just in time. Kathleen, are you okay to take over Toastmaster?
I don't know because I'm on an iPad and I have no idea how to use any of the controls, but I will give it a shot.
Okay.
And just so you know, Kathleen, Rob does have a joke when you're ready for the joke.
Oh, okay, good.
Thank you, Vicky. I would have forgotten that.
I would start out by saying I was having a very challenging day. I've spent 3 hours trying to fix something on my computer, which is why I don't have my computer, unsuccessfully. Then I decided to look up our agenda for today and see what fun topic Lloyd had picked out. And he picked out canceling history or righting wrongs. It was deeply disturbing. I was looking for something light and interesting. We'll make it interesting, that's for sure. I'm not sure how light we can make it. For some levity though, we're gonna turn to Rob Tidd, who has, as I understand it, the joke of the day.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. A doctor was taking her 4-year-old preschooler to class, and the 4-year-old had the doctor's stethoscope on the car seat, and the little girl picked it up and began playing with it. Be still, my heart, thought the physician. My daughter wants to follow in my footsteps. Then the child spoke into the instrument. Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order? Okay, maybe not the best joke, but it was a joke.
It was a great joke. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm going to play catch up here. Vicky might know, are there any changes to the program? I see that our speakers are here.
Everybody's here.
Everybody is here. Excellent.
Everybody's here.
And we have no guests. Then I will go forward and introduce our general evaluator, Ron. Ron.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Where are you? Oh, you're not on my screen.
Yeah, swipe left or swipe right. Once you get to understand the iPad, it's pretty nice. I like it a lot for this anyway. I will be the general evaluator for tonight's meeting. And of course, we always evaluate our presentations for that whole continuous quality improvement. I have a team to make me look good as a general evaluator. First member of that team, one of the speech evaluators, is Eric Stepper. Eric, want to describe what you will be doing, please?
It will be my pleasure to evaluate Jackie's speech.
She's in Pathways, and her path is reflect on your path. Purpose of this project is for the member to reflect on his or her growth during the completion of an entire path. Yes, this is her final speech for the path. Purpose of the speech is for the member to share some aspect of his or her growth during the completion of a path. This member is completing the last speech in his or her current path. The member may speak on any aspect of the journey completed. Speech may be persuasive, humorous, informational, or crafted in any style that appeals to the member and supports the speech content. Timer, this speech is 10 to 12 minutes. It'll be my pleasure to give my report when called upon.
Appreciate it. Have a second speech, which means I have a second speech evaluator, and that's Dean. Dean, want to describe your role tonight, please?
Sure, once I unmute. I will be evaluating Mary's speech. It's a level 3 required project in the innovative planning path. The speech, rather the purpose of the project is to practice developing and presenting a proposal. And this will involve developing a proposal to improve any area of her life. It may involve personal or professional life or the Toastmasters Club. So that's what I'll be reviewing.
Thank you, Dean. Mary, I think out of the corner of my eye, I saw a red jacket show up behind you. Did I see that? Okay, it was just a quick flash. I wasn't exactly sure if my eyes were playing tricks on me or not. Okay, next member of our team is our timer, Rob Tidd. Rob, want to describe to us what you'll be doing this evening?
Yes, thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Each speaker has a set amount of time to speak according to her role or the project requirements. Tonight, we have 2 speeches. Jackie's speech is 10 to 12 minutes. So at the 10-minute mark, I will produce the green vegetables. At the 11-minute mark, the yellow vegetables. And at the 12-minute mark, the red vegetables. Mary, please remind me the length of your speech this evening. 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes. So what we will do at the 5-minute mark for Mary's speech will be the green. At 6 will be the yellow. And at the 7-minute mark will be the red. And I will hold them up for a considerable few seconds to make sure that everyone knows. And after these speeches, we will have table topics. At 1 minute, I will produce the green vegetables, 1.5, the yellow vegetables, and at 2 minutes, the red. And for our evaluators evaluating the speeches tonight, at 1 minute, I will produce the green. At 2 minutes, the yellow. And at 3 minutes, the red. And I will report back at the end of the meeting to let everyone know how they did. Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator.
I thought the evaluations were 2, 2.5, and 3 for timing.
Or for the speech evaluation. That's correct.
2, 2.5, and 3.
Right.
Yeah.
I stand corrected. Thank you, Dean.
Sure.
Okay. Next up on our team is Christina Stepper, who will be the grammarian. Christina, want to tell us what you'll be doing tonight, please?
Thank you, Ron. Tonight, I will be listening for outstanding uses of the English language as well as abuses of the English language. I'll make note of those, share them with you at the conclusion of the meeting when called upon to do so. I also have the privilege of picking out a word of the day. Our word of the day today is abnegation. A-B-N-E-G-A-T-I-O-N. The meaning is the act of or instance of renouncing or rejecting something, giving up a right or a possession, etc. I felt that it fit quite nicely with our theme tonight. Hopefully you'll be able to incorporate it in your speeches. Here's abnegation in a sentence. My abnegation of ice cream is due to lactose intolerance. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Christina. Last up is Pat. Pat will be our awe counter tonight. Want to share with us what you'll be doing this evening?
Surely, I'll be the resident nitpicker, looking for awe, and well, so all of those things. Actually, what I'll be doing is conducting an abnegation of all of those things that disrupt the flow of your articulate language. Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, after everybody is done tonight, I will summarize my thoughts of the meeting as a whole. Now we'll turn control of the meeting back over to our Toastmaster, Kathleen.
Who has figured out how to unmute. And thank you, Ron, for sharing with me how to move across the screens and see people. It is my pleasure to introduce our regular speaker today. Jackie is going to be doing a speech. I believe we heard the final one on her pathway. Congratulations in advance. Jackie, you've really done an amazing job of coming in here and just like soaring through the pathways. We have a lot to learn from you. Thank you. Many of us hear the voice of our inner critic every day, but do we have an inner cheerleader? To reflect back on her presentation mastery journey, Jackie has decided to let you hear from her inner cheerleader. Without further ado, here is Peach Angelica.
Hello, y'all. I am so excited to be here. It was so awesome that Miss Jackie, our friend, decided to abnegate her role tonight and give it to me because, oh my goodness, this girl has been through so much. Did you know that she started this pathway 18 months ago? Yeah, she started 18 months ago. And she was telling me about that first time she went to a Toastmasters. She'd been working on this speaking mastermind thing, and she'd been working on speaking, and her coach said to her, Jackie, you know, it would be a real good idea if you join that Toastmasters group because you're going to get more experience, and the more you speak, the better you are going to get, darling. I mean, she didn't exactly say it like that, but you know, I'm paraphrasing in Peach Angelica language. You'll get used to it. So our friend, Miss Jackie, got a call from her sister. Oh, her sweet sister, Jennifer. If you knew Jennifer, oh, you would say that girl's darling. She said, Jackie, I think we need to go to Toastmasters together. And Jackie said, sure, darling, that sounds great. I've been thinking about that myself. Have you found a group? And Jennifer said, yes, I have. And Jackie said, okay, great. When is it? And what day? And Jennifer said, it's at 7:30 in the morning on Saturdays. And I will tell you, Jackie, right there, she almost decided not to go because if you know anything about our girl, Jackie, you know she is not a morning person. which is why she probably doesn't mind being up at 1:30 in the morning. Anyway, she decided to go because she thought back in her little mind to when she was 19 years old, and her mama told her, well, first she said to her mama, she said, Mama, I want to be a speaker. At 19 years old, she said this, and her mama turned to her and she said, you don't have anything to speak about. Fast forward all these years later, and that girl, you know, you've heard her story. She definitely has something to speak about. So fast forward back to this first meeting. She was so intimidated by all these speakers. They were so professional and polished. And there was even what they called a DTM in the group. Can you believe that? She thought, oh my goodness. But you know what? Even though she was intimidated, that very next week, she was back there and she said, I'm gonna sign up. Gosh, what is this? Like there's magnolias coming out of my head or something. What's that girl thinking? Anyways, so the week after she signed up, she gave her first Toastmaster speech. It was 18 months ago. I tell you, she's just like a different girl. She gave that speech, her icebreaker, and it was something about like throwing spaghetti up at the wall and seeing what sticks, something like that. Well, she was in that group for 8 months before she moved to Washington, and y'all met her. And in that time, she gave 2 speeches. But you know what? She was getting her feet wet, and she was being in all the roles. She was always participating. And she, even though she was still a little bit unsure of herself, she was getting herself out there. And I'm proud of her for that, you know, because sometimes she looks back at it and she thinks, oh, I could have gone faster. I could have done more speeches at the beginning. But you know what? I think that she just did great. And when she came up here, the next phase of her journey was 7 months. And you all know that until we got on Zoom, that girl only gave 1 speech. But you know what? That was part of her journey too. Do you remember that speech, y'all? Is anybody there with that little wiggly puppy? Oh my goodness, he's just sweetheart, isn't he? Oh my goodness. But you know what? From the moment that girl walked in, she felt so welcome by y'all. The first face that she saw was you, Mr. Rob. And you, Mr. Rob, just put her at ease. She felt so comfortable. She sat down and she got a name tag and she thought, okay, these are my people. Yeah, he just made her feel so welcome. And to this day, she tells me whenever she looks over at Rob, she gets a big smile on her face because he is hysterical and he's just so full of life. Just had to tell you that, Rob. Oh my goodness. But even though everybody was so friendly, it was 4 times as intimidating as that Nashville group because how many DTMs do we have on this call? We got 4. And you know what? The one that was the most intimidating to her was Lloyd because he was so polished and he'd been doing this for years and years and years. And she thought, how am I ever going to get to that level? But you know what? Everything changed once we went to Zoom. COVID happened and all that craziness. But that girl told me, Jackie said, I remember the day I got an email. And they said they wanted me to be president. And you know what she said? She said, that changed everything. Because if they believed in me enough to be the president of this group, then surely that meant that they believed in my possibilities of speaking. So she decided she would start and give a speech on Zoom. I don't know, does anybody remember that speech she gave? She told me about it. She said it was called Jennifer and Jasmine, I think. And the way that went down, she got done and she was like, yeah. That's what she says anyways. So Jennifer and Jasmine told her, doing that speech of Jennifer and Jasmine, said to her, I can do this. And so she said, what if I started speaking more? What difference would that make? And she emailed Mr. Lloyd, and he gave her the best advice. He said, you know what? If we had people lining up and you were bumping somebody else out, that'd be a different thing. But you know what? You go for it, girl. And so she took that advice and she just ran for it. And I'm going to tell you, in the past 3 months, do you know how many speeches that girl's given? She's given 11 speeches in the past 3 months. My Lanta, yes, thank you, Ian. But you know why she's been able to do that? It's because y'all have been so encouraging to her. I'm going to tell you a secret. She might not want me to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you anyways. Her love language is words of encouragement. And every time she gets done with the speech, she blacks out her camera. I know that girl needs to put a picture there. But anyways, what she's doing when she takes her video off, she's taking her little phone and she is snapping pictures of y'all's encouragement because she wants to take those in. You know what has also been amazing is Miss Mary, Jackie told me all about you, and she told me how much you have helped her. Oh, goodness sake, she made the best choice in mentoring you because she knew that you were friendly, and also you had this very good way of structuring your speeches. She said she has learned so much from you, girl. And oh my goodness, Miss Vicki, when you emailed Miss Jackie and you asked her to moderate that panel, I cannot tell you how excited she got. And then after that feedback, it just kept building and building and building. And it's called, there's a word for this, wait for it, flowmentum. One word, flowmentum. Let me tell you what that means. It means when you're in flow and the momentum takes over, and the more you do it, the better you get, the more you want to do it, and it's just this positive cycle, and you all have been such a huge part of that. You know what she has up on here on her wall, Mr. Ian? Comment that you said to her, public speaking is your calling, Ian. That meant so much to her. Ron, your evaluations, oh, that girl meant so much to that girl. Dean, you are so structured and on top of it, being your perfectionist self. She really, really needed what you had to say. And Miss Pat, I know you have heard Jackie talk about how she loves to hear your speak because your words, oh, she is so right from what I've heard about your eloquence. Oh, have I missed anybody? Kathleen, darling, oh, you are just the sweetest, blessed. And the Steppers. Oh my goodness. You know, Jackie's friend Elaine said that she would like to adopt you as parents. And if I wasn't all the way in England, I think, you know, actually I am in England because I'm visiting Jackie. But bottom line is, thank you for being her cheerleader. And I want to ask you, do you have a cheerleader? Do you have a cheerleader like me? Peach Angelica? I hope you do, to reflect how awesome you are. just like you were so awesome to Miss Jackie. I want to thank you for getting her to the end of this pathway, because you have been everything to her, and she appreciates y'all so much. Thank you for letting me be here and take over for Miss Jackie. I thank you so much. Miss Toastmaster, it's back to you.
Thank you so much, Peachy. What are you doing tomorrow? I could sign you up as a cheerleader. Jackie, I decided that you were the antidote to abnegation.
Ah, yay!
You rejected nothing, you embraced everything.
Oh, thank you. I love that.
Including making the lemonade out of the lemons of COVID. That it brought us to Zoom, where you could literally Zoom through a whole set of speeches.
Yep.
To get your pathway finished. It was a great speech, really enjoyed it. 1 minute on the timer for us to write our notes.
That is 1 minute, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. I know our next speaker will keep the flow-mentum going. Mary Cyree spent the last decade of her career as a project manager. She has written many project proposals, project charters, project schedules, and project status reports. Another skill she acquired was the ability to predict project risks before they happen. That's a great skill. She wonders, were there any project managers in the world who included global pandemic in their risk assessment list? Project managers and Toastmasters have this in common. They are flexible when the unpredictable happens. Please welcome Mary tonight as she presents her proposal for the SWAP project.
Toastmasters, it was 1 year ago that I was selecting my pathway. And the reason I chose innovative planning was for this project. Prepare a proposal. I had a great idea. First of all, you define a need, then you outline your solution, and you present it to your stakeholders. My need was to grow the membership of my Wenatchee Garment Sewing Club. My solution was to get demonstration time and a booth at the Chelan County Fair. I was going to present this to my stakeholders, my club, my sponsor, and the Chelan County Board. Well, the pandemic happened, and I had to abnegate my plans for that part of my presentation. It's still a good idea, maybe next year, but now in order to move myself out of level 3 to level 4, I have to think up a new project. What are my needs? Well, first of all, my need is to stay safe. So I decided on a personal project that would involve just me, not other people, no business, just me. So what are my personal needs? Well, I came up with 2 sets of needs. One is, in these times, I need a sanctuary. I need a place to go where I can focus on an activity I enjoy, where I can learn, and where I can just take that deep dive into details. What happens then is the world goes away. I'm in the flow. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome to my sanctuary. This is my sewing room. This is where I go for the flow. My second set of needs were material needs. Now, I've been sewing most of my life, but actively collecting fabric for over 20 years, and I have quite a stash. I have a need to use up that stash, but it's going kind of slow. My usual MO for sewing is to make a garment, finish it up, put it in my closet, and then look in my stash, figure out what I'm going to do next. But there's no cohesion there. I decided I'm going to do something I've never done before, and that is create a cohesive fall wardrobe using using just fabrics that I have in my stash, patterns that I already have, such that everything goes together. And there's a word for this. It's called sewing with a plan. That is the swap. And this is my swap project that I also swapped out for my other one. Let's start with my proposal. Every project has three sets of constraints. There's the scope, there's the time, and there are resources. What's the scope of this project? I'm going to create 10 garments, 3 toppers, 4 tops, and 3 bottoms. And I have the fabrics here in progress. Here are the 2 toppers, 2 jackets, and this is a sweater. So I have 2 jackets and a nice thick cardigan sweater. Each of these toppers will coordinate with the tops, 4 tops. I've got a blouse, I've got a knit top in the stripes, a little pink shirt, and this pink and Hawaiian floral shirt. So think collar and cuffs out of that Hawaiian floral. These will all go together, and I'll also be making 3 bottoms, a skirt, a pair of yoga pants, and the big challenge of all, wool denim trousers, lined. That's the scope of my project, 10 garments. How long is it going to take? Well, that's the timing. I've made enough clothes that I know about how long everything takes. So I figured out hours per garment, how many hours a day I'm going to work, what kind of slack time do I need? And it turns out this is going to take me 10 weeks. 10 garments, 10 weeks, I'll be done on winter solstice. And finally, resources. I have a team of 1, so that'll be pretty easy to control. And money, budget, I don't need it. I'm using everything that I already have, although I probably will have to buy some thread, some lining, and buttons. Now, anytime we start a project, we need to have a vision for the future. What does the world look like when we've finished this project? For me, I'll be doing a lessons learned at the end of each garment. I typically write what went well, what didn't go so well, what changes need to be made on the pattern envelope. But I'll also be looking at this project as a whole. What did I learn from this project that I can apply to future projects, especially when my Wenatchee Garment Sewing Club can get back together in person? I predict a few things that we could do together based on the outcome of this project. Creating custom fabrics, custom garments, learning more about how to draft garments from scratch, understanding fit issues, And I think most importantly of all, sharing knowledge. And I'm looking forward to levels 4 and 5 in the innovative planning, so I can put some of these good knowledge bits that I have to use, both for the Wenatchee garment sewing, and maybe some of you are makers too. And I can share what I've learned. And I want to say one more thing about Toastmaster projects. If you're kind of stuck and you don't quite know where to go, look ahead in these paths and find a project that you can easily do. You can lead an online meeting like this, get credit for it. Even the journaling project that I did a couple weeks ago. And I think too, that you'll find some self-care and fulfilling moments as a Toastmaster in any project that you're looking forward to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. What an inspiring project. So impressive. I learned to sew when I was 12, 13, 14. My final product was a swimsuit, which was a total and utter disaster, which led to my abnegation of sewing altogether. Haven't touched a sewing machine since then. Before we start our 1 minute, I have to say one other thing to Mary. You were in the Wall Street Journal this weekend because I think it was Saturday edition. They had an article about fashion, and they were talking about how these designers had, during COVID, decided they would make clothing out of what they had in their houses. And it's become a big trend that tablecloths, drapes, old clothing turned into new clothing. There you go. You're ahead of the curve. 1 minute, Mr. Timer, please.
That is 1 minute, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. My next job is to introduce our table topics master. As I do that, I will take note of the topic Lloyd selected for us, canceling history or righting wrongs. That is quite a challenging topic, I think. I spent a good 3 minutes thinking about it, and that will become evident in just a minute. I thought, wow, I don't think I really care statues of anything. If you don't pay homage to the statue, what difference does it make whether the statue's there? I felt like I was very free thinking and proud of myself. Then I thought of a few people that if I saw them in a statue, I would be kind of upset. One that I can say that everybody would agree with is Hitler, okay, right? But there were other people, people currently in office. I thought, oh, no, I wouldn't want to do that. Realized I wasn't as open-minded as I thought. It's a very difficult subject. I mentioned that I had trouble with my computer today. And I will say that if there had been a statue of Steve Jobs around the corner, I would have gone and torn it down. With that, I'm going to turn things over to Ian Adams, our table topics master.
Thanks, Kathleen. Great topic tonight, Lloyd. I wish that I would have spent a little bit more time thinking about this beforehand, but I worked right up to 5:22 today, at which time I looked at the agenda and realized I was the table topics master. So I threw together some quick thoughts. And one of the first things that I'd like to ask, well, let me back up. One of the first things I'd like to say is, way to go, Lloyd, on getting everybody's name on the agenda tonight. I was trying to take Pat's advice. No, it was Christina's advice on how she goes through and looks at who does not have a major role and assigning those names. Everybody had a role, except I believe Vicky. Anyway, back on task. One of the things that's interesting to me is history is an ever-changing state of, it's really in this ever-changing state of change. We're always changing history in some way or another. And we're always learning how to understand history in a different way. For instance, I saw some quick blurb the other day about how scientists are reimagining dinosaurs now. It was interesting in how they were taking what I've always known for 40 plus years now of what a dinosaur looked like, and just like that, making it new and fresh and colorful. Anyway, our society is in this state of massive change in the way we relate to historical events right now, events that are relatively recent in our, say, last 100 to 200 years of history, things that have shaped our nation. And I've always heard that history always repeats itself. So Ron, I'd like to know if you think rewriting our current history is going to come back and bite us at some point.
Ian, I really don't know. Rewriting our current history? I suppose I don't, I wasn't paying attention. I don't understand what you necessarily say or mean by that. We're writing our history as we go along, but rewriting history would, kind of be, lying to ourselves, I suppose. And if we are lying to ourselves, then that is going to come back to bite us in the end, I would certainly think. Sure, what we have going on in 2020 is very unconventional on a number of levels. We all see that. It's made its way into our table topics and our discussions, our transitions in these Monday afternoon Cascade Speakeasy / Electric Toasters meetings that we've been having. None of us really like it. We are really trying, I think, to make lemonade out of those lemons, do the best we can, certainly. I see that Rob Saved Me held up the 1 minute marker with those tasty green vegetables. So I'm just going to call it quits, Ian. Thanks for the question.
Thanks, Ron. Due to the way you address that question, I'm going to rephrase my next question a little bit, because I can see how the term rewriting history can be confusing. Kathleen, it seems like there's no laws that govern how we can describe or how we can view past historical events. For instance, things that were okay to do 100 years ago are no longer okay to do now. If you were to change a perspective on some historical event, what would that event be?
That's a really good question. First, I'll start off by saying my dad was a historian. He wrote history. He worked for the Air Force. He would document the events of the day. His documentation would get moved up the chain of command and approved or not approved. The take on it. It's kind of interesting, I think, just to think that there are people that that do that, and they do that for our government. Opinion has to be involved in that. It's never just strict factual. Whatever one person writes has a little bit of their personal influence in it. The supervisor adds some influence, the manager adds some influence, and you get what you get. If there's anything that I would change in terms of how we think of something historically, this is going to be odd, but the thing that comes to my mind is if we can all remember the excitement we felt when we landed a man on the moon, just how exciting that was and what a huge piece of history and the present that was for us. I wish for us that we could have that experience again really soon, that we can make some fun and exceptional history very soon in our lifetimes.
Thanks, Kathleen. And we're up against the time. We're up against the time right now. So I just want to leave everybody with this one quote. It's by Theodore Roosevelt. And he said, in any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The worst thing you can do is nothing. At this point, I'd like to turn it back over to Kathleen.
Wasn't I just on? It's the Kathleen and Jackie and Mary show today. Thank you. Thank you, Ian. Great job with a really difficult topic, I think. We are at the point in our meeting where we're going to evaluate ourselves. I'm going to turn that with pleasure over to Ron.
Thank you, Kathleen. I want to launch right into these speeches evaluations. So first up is Eric with his evaluation and Jackie's speech. You're up.
Thank you, Ron. This speech is a mess. This evaluation is a mess. I am a sucker for accents, and I was laughing the whole time. I'm going to take notes, and they're all over the place here. One thing that I'll say up front is when you do your speeches, you're nicely dressed, and I think people don't give that enough credit to give the audience that respect to come prepared, and I appreciate that. Good. You've always, in all your speeches, done a great job of abnegating the boring speech. And you always abnegate coloring within the lines of a typical speech. There's nothing typical about you, Jackie. So the purpose of is to document the growth. And you did a great job of that. You talked about the first meeting and coming in to an intimidating atmosphere, and that Rob greeted you, dispelled those fears, created a great welcoming foray into Toastmasters that just settled you down. I like that. You started out your strategy by filling roles and getting comfortable with that and being positive about that. Your first speech, you had a puppy, and I think that helped you become calmer with what you were doing. You met Lloyd, and Lloyd was intimidating, but he also gave you some good advice. You regaled us with how all these different people in Toastmasters helped you in your growth path, and it was very interesting. One thing they say here to work on, you do a great job with gestures and the camera and getting into the face of the camera to emphasize what's going on. But sometimes when you pull back, you lop the top of your head off, something to work on. What did I like the best? You're very inventive with your speeches. So you have your inner cheerleader took over and regaled us with the speech and with that accent and be tight, I am. You know, I love that stuff. I always know when you're going to give a speech, I'm going to get entertained and informed. One thing that they say, you know, what can you do to work on and to challenge yourself? The only thing I could come up with is try and give this speech backwards.
Thank you, Eric. That's interesting to think of, giving that speech backwards. I like that recommendation. Next up, Dean, you want to go ahead and share with us your interpretations of Mary's speech, please?
Certainly, now that I figured out how to get the mute off. Thank you, Mary, for a great speech. I thought your organization was great. It contained all the elements that were outlined in the Toastmasters manual. You started out by explaining how you came to your project and how you had a somewhat related but different kind of project. And then you talked about how you needed to be flexible and how you flexed into this new project. You explained how, you outlined your project in an appropriate level of detail. You did send me some stuff ahead of time, and I thought, geez, how are you going to get all that in 5 to 7 minutes? But you cut it out and just gave us the essentials in an interesting manner. One of the things that they said in the summary was that you should reiterate your statement of need, which you did. But I kind of felt like the last little bit of advice to everybody, while good advice, it almost seemed like a little bit of an add-on to the main purpose of your speech. It's okay, but it just seemed like it was something that was tacked on. You had great lighting and a background that we could appropriately see all your wonderful props, which were very entertaining and nice to see. Lost my train of thought. The gestures. I really liked your delivery. You've always got a friendly, happy delivery. Your gestures were great and appropriate. 2 of them really stood out to me. You talked at one point something about interlacing things and used this kind of gesture, which was good. And then I liked how when you were talking about the number of parts that you were going to make, you use fingers like 3 or 2 or whatever the right number was. So that was good. The plan was a good plan. It certainly shows that you were an experienced project manager. You had all the steps outlined there, the cost, the time, and I particularly appreciated the risk, because I think too many project managers, and especially non-project managers, completely ignore the risks and just charge off and think everything's going to go just fine. But you had a risk plan, and presumably you have some contingency planning to deal with any risks. Since it's just you don't have to worry about motivating other people to get their stuff done on time, which greatly simplifies things. Anyway, I greatly enjoyed the speech, and maybe someday I will consult with you on how to fix a zipper in my pants. I don't make anything, but I do repair things. And because I have valuable backcountry gear that I don't want to let go. Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Dean. Excellent work. Mr. Happy, Rob, want to give us a timer's report, please?
I would be happy to, Mr. General Evaluator. We had 2 major speeches this evening. Pardon me. Jackie, your speech was 12 minutes, 27 seconds. Mary, yours was 7 minutes, 23 seconds. So both of them were just a little bit over, but not by much. Table topics, we had 2. Ron, you were 1:20. Kathleen, you were 1:54.
Wells and then.
And then we had the evaluations. Eric, spot on, 3 minutes exactly. Dean, 3 minutes, 15 seconds. But that's only because we had to hear about the zipper. Wonderful timing this evening. Everyone did a wonderful job. That's my report. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Rob. Next up is Christina with her grammarian report.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. The word of the day, abnegation. Pat, Jackie, Mary, once each. Kathleen and Eric each used it twice. Good job, good word. Use that this week. It fits with where we are. There were a number of phrases tonight that I enjoyed in Mary's speech. The use of the word sanctuary, the phrase deep dive into details, rolls off the tongue, very well done. The way you used swap in 2 different ways as an acronym and also literally. Jackie, your diction was so consistent through your speech and appropriate to the person, peach person. You're, the word you're, darling, morning, to, I'm gonna, professional, y'all, on and on. It was so consistent through the entire speech. Very well done. That's hard to do. A few other phrases used throughout the evening. Ian, ever-changing state of change. Ron, making lemonade out of lemons. And also the tasty green vegetables in reference to Rob's green sign. Eric, you regaled us. I like that phrase a lot. Dean wins the Diction Award for the evening. He said, going to go just fine. And he said, don't want to let go. We apparently have been on COVID too long because grammar has gotten very lazy. We had wannas and gonnas and ta and I'm gonna try to, and we need to sharpen up those grammar uses, pronunciation, make your mouth go. It still works. Even in COVID, we can enunciate. At the beginning, even before we started, I didn't catch who was talking. Someone said, I'm gonna try and do this, whatever this was. It should be, I'm going to try to do whatever this is. And that's another mistake that I think we make commonly, is using try and instead of try to. Let's kind of think about that when we're doing our table topics, when we're doing our speeches, to keep that agreement correct grammatically. That's my report. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Christina. Excellent. Very thorough. And last up to either help folks build confidence or not is our awe counter, Pat.
Who will be talking about the little bumps in the road. Here we go. Ian had 2 so's. Christina was clean. Mary had 5 ands, 2 wells, and 3 so's. Rob had 2 ands. Jackie had 1 7 ands, 2 wells, and 5 so's, although all in dialect, so done very graciously with Southern style. Eric, 2 ands and 1 you know. Kathleen, 1 but. Ron, 1 so. Dean, 1 well. And that's all I have to say about that, y'all. Back to our general evaluation.
Thank you, Pat. My thoughts on the meeting as a whole is, as always, it went really well. Certainly seems like we have this core team of folks that jump in, and Lloyd does a pretty bang up job of mixing up giving us various roles. I enjoy that to some degree. I used to get a break. It doesn't seem like I get a break anymore. And that's why Ian kind of caught me off guard there, Ian. I wasn't at all expecting to get called on table topics. I was looking at my phone, thought, well, shoot, there's probably only time for 2, and maybe he'll pick on Lloyd and maybe Vicky, but nope, I was right out of the gate. So I was over here thinking about something else and had to bumble through a question. One of my favorite things is that both of our speakers were dressed really nicely and wore green. Green's one of my favorite colors. And heck, even Rob is wearing green. Granted, I'm not wearing green, but that's okay. The people that really meant something for tonight's presentation were wearing green, which is good. We're going to be ending on time, it looks like. So just summarize by saying what I started with, and that is it's another great Monday evening Toastmasters meeting. Back to our Toastmaster, Kathleen.
Or our president. But we do need to take a vote. Is that right, Rob?
Yes, we do. If you will all please send me your vote for the speaker this evening, and I will tabulate the votes.
Thank you, Rob. No, I'll be myself. I won't be Peach Angelica. Would anybody like to say anything about this Saturday? Lloyd, maybe? What's coming up? I assume everybody's able to come?
Yeah, it should be Vicky. Vicky's the one in charge of the whole show.
Vicky.
All right. If you haven't registered yet for Membership Day, it is this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We are having 2 guest speakers, a little bit of networking in the district, and then we are going to be honoring all of our club's members who have won awards, and especially Mary. She is getting recognized for her DTM, so we definitely want to support her in that. It's just going to be a day or a morning of fun. So if you can register, be sure to do so. If you get registered this evening before 7 o'clock, you'll be in the drawing for a $20 gift certificate to TI. Otherwise, Wednesday, you will have another chance to get in that drawing. But yes, I will be doing the drawing at 7 o'clock tonight. So, and that's fun because I have a little spinny wheel and it's really cool. So if you don't get to see it live, hop on the Facebook page and you will get to see who won. And yeah, it's just a little bit of fun. So hope to see you Saturday.
Is that the District 9 Facebook page?
The District 9 Facebook group page is where I'm doing the live.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Rob, are you ready?
I am, Madam President.
Fantastic.
Before I indicate who won this evening, I want to be sure and encourage everyone on the call to please vote, even if you're voting for yourself or someone else. I didn't get 12 votes, but of the votes I received, we have one winner. Congratulations, Jackie Graybill, on a job well done.
Yay. Thank you. Peach Angelica thanks you too. Oh, this is a fun meeting. Thank you all. And I think we're a little over time, but that's okay because we had an awesome time. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you. Have an awesome, awesome week.
Thank you, Jackie.
Next week,
thank you, everyone.
Bye.
batten down the hatches. We got wind